Well, good morning. There are 12 of us so far, and it is 8:01. And it's good to see you all this morning, even though my technology has been really fuzzy with me this last 24 hours. But welcome to the intersection. And I know I sent out a late notice, and the higher up you go in scheduling somebody, the higher the chances are that they might cancel on you. So I spent the last 12 hours trying to find someone to step in. And we're going to do what we've called at other gatherings, mission minutes, where we're going to be hearing, and we're just going to kind of line up, but we're going to be hearing the latest updates from our collaboratives, and may have time to open up the mic to others to announce what's going on and what others need to know about. I will say, for those who might speak, if you show a flyer or something like that, if you could send it to me, I'm sure that there are people who are going to ask, will we all be sent that flyer later, that thing? So if you just send it to me or put links into the chat, and that type of thing. We're not going to start with announcements because this kind of includes that. I am going to start with one announcement just so to give a little bit more time for people to enter in. And the one thing I want to share is in December. So it's a little bit further away, and I'll be announcing it again, but that will give people a chance to come in. So a year ago, October, actually, this event was the first time I knew that it happened in our city. It's put together, as you can see on the left-hand side, by all the, the FBI is a part of it as well, Homeland Security, SAPD, the fire department, but they put together an Interfaith Safety and Security Symposium. It's free. And it's put together for folks who actually are in that kind of service, but also for the faith community. Went to it last year for the first time. It was really informative and very helpful. So we will be encouraging people to attend that. When more information will be coming out between now and then. It's on Wednesday, December 14th, noon to 5. We will be from within our collaboratives presenting, as well as hearing presentations from federal, local, state entities, but Sacred is going to be presenting so that all of those entities know about resourcing and how we do that in community. There will also be reporting on from SAN Society Community Collaborative, which I'm sure we're going to hear from, but what we've been doing in a collaborative to help prepare prevention, intervention, and healing when it comes to shootings, larger violent events. And so mark your calendar. We're going to go a little old school, at least for a while today. I encourage everybody who's participating to pull out a pen and a piece of paper. You might not have done that for a while because you've been doing virtual stuff, but you might hear things today at least that you're going to want to jot down, and that will just be helpful, right? So it's 8:04, and we're going to start our mission minutes, and I'm just going to go back to, let's see if I can find this. Yes. If you all remember, at the beginning of the summer, we started an entire series on our collaboratives in our community and what has been coming out of those strategies that have been developing. Just good stuff, right? And I'm going to be basically mentally going down this list of the collaboratives that we have and hearing their 60 to 90 seconds of update of their latest and their best. Others, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and raise your hand like Paul Furukawa. If you go ahead and raise your hand using the little hand at the bottom. All right. And so we're just going to do kind of a lineup, but I'm going to start with those who power us every Thursday morning, sacred.org. So Bill, I think you were going to take it.
Yeah, I'll take it. So I'm going to show you guys a few things. So real quick, I'm Bill Neely. I'm the executive director of sacred.org. I think most of you probably have heard of me by now. If not, then reach out if you want to get to know me better. But I just wanted to give you guys an update on sacred.org. Sacred.org is the San Antonio Community Resource Directory. We are an online platform of all the human services in Greater San Antonio. That's an 8-county region of about 2.5 million people. So I just want to point out a couple of things that we're doing lately. One is, there's a right on the front page of our website, we put the number of resources that you can find in our directory, and so you can see that number go up every day, and sometimes it goes down. So as we take out programs that are no longer there, but we're sitting at about 8,715 right now. We had a big bump recently because we just launched a new housing portal. But I will point out that one thing that we were talking about recently is that the total number of resources that we've added to the directory since we've started in 2019 is really closer to 11,000, actually closer to about 11,500. It's now back down to 8,700 because we take programs out. We have a staff of resource investigators, I'm sorry, that verify every resource every year. So while we're showing 8,700 today, we've done a lot of work to make sure that 8,700 is up to date. But I really want to show you this housing finder. This is a brand new program that we've launched in partnership with Rich Acosta at My City Is My Home. So Rich and his group of volunteers had collected information on about 700 housing, rental units, apartments, another rental properties around the city. And you can see the type of information they collected, things like, what's the monthly rent, where is the place located, what kind of bedrooms do you have, which areas are you focused, what housing barriers can this apartment complex accommodate, things like foreclosures, evictions, criminal backgrounds, no IDs, things like that. So you can come in here and you can say, I need something for less than $800 a month. I would like it to be on the north side, and I need a 2-bedroom. And we can narrow that down into 11. And then we can further say, I want something that will work with me if I have a previous eviction. And so now we've narrowed that down into four units. We can then quickly look at the details of each of those units to get the information that we, and make contact with the organization if we have. We're also going through and we'll be updating this over the next 4 months to add information about bus routes, what bus routes are here, and doing an update on this data. But this, so to make sure that it's all very much up to date. This data that we're using is about 3 months old at this point, and so Rich and his team of merry volunteers are about to do an update on it over the next 3 months. But this is really exciting. If you want to, I'll put the link to the housing finder in the chat. We have not even released this as a we haven't started publishing this on the website, the link, or started talking about it publicly. This is already one of the most visited pages on the website. So we have, just in our soft launch period that we've been doing with some invited users, they've shared the links themselves. We've already had 700 people look at this in the last about 3 weeks, really. So I'm very excited about this, and I hope you are too. And I hope that you will take a look at it, share it with people that you think might need to know about it, and send us some feedback.
Thanks, Bill. I would think that this would be really helpful to NAMI, to anyone who's working with homeless, just a really helpful finder. So, and as Bill said, it's not public yet. I mean, it's online, but it's not been pushed out into the public. So he'll be putting that into the link into chat. Okay, let's look at raised hands. If I can, Doug Beach has a raised hand. So Doug, give us your mission minute.
Well, I had a question for Bill.
Oh, there's a
which
question
is-
for Bill.
Yeah. Bill, how are you going to keep up with whether a unit's been leased or, keep the inventory current so that it's doesn't get stale?
That's a great question, and we will not be indicating whether or not there's available units at the apartment. So that's something that changes daily, and so that's not something that we'll be posting. And so if at some point if we can have an opportunity for more people to maintain that data, we would. But at this point, we're simply indicating that these apartments are working with your situation. And it would be up to the user to determine if there's actual availability there. So that is, I will say, Doug, that's like the nirvana of apartment finder, right? To find one that can actually maintain day-to-day or week-to-week availability. And so we have the platform to do that. We just don't have the resources and the personnel to keep that up.
Because that I'm sure changes daily. So
changes
it
daily,
would have
and
to
it's,
be a model that even the apartment units could put into. So, Doug, would you like to tell us the latest and best when it comes to Bridges to Care?
Yeah, I think, we're busily planning for next year. And a couple of things we're looking for is Spanish language instructors. And that goes for both Bridges to Care and NAMI. So we are trying to develop more Spanish language curricula. And that is a major initiative for us. I want to remind everybody that there's an opportunity. We're going to be looking for new faith communities around the city, particularly on the south and west side. And we're looking for wellness champions. So, we need people who are, I would say, leaders in the west side and the south side in particular, to be able to work with. So if anybody has somebody they want to recommend that we get in touch with, now's the time, because we have time to kind of set this up for early 2023. So those are the two things I would say right now that we're focusing on.
I want to piggyback on that with Doug. So we're intentionally, another collaborative, intentionally trying to deepen the directory of the faith community in the south and the west side. So if anybody wants to help with that, and as Doug has said, has access and relationships, you could let Doug know, or you can let myself know, and all of that will flow into the same direction. So that's really important. Next on our collaborative list is, Doug, yes.
And I have one announcement, which is I'm getting ready to go up to the NAMI Texas conference in Dallas, annual conference. And Judge Kazin was nominated to be the outstanding jurist in the state of Texas for this year. And he's receiving the NAMI Texas Award. It's called the Charlie Shannon Jurist Award. It's a big honor for Oscar. He's going to be there and accept the award tomorrow night. So kudos and to Oscar, and we all should be proud of the work that he's done.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Doug, for mentioning that. Next on our collaborative list is Homelessness and Hunger, and I see that Lauren is with us from the food bank. Lauren, give us your latest, and you've got something coming up, right?
Good morning, everybody. Sorry. Yeah, so we are, wow, going into the fall. We all know, well, a normal message would be hunger has no holiday or no season, right? So we walk into Christmas, Thanksgiving, January, whatever it is, and that's a normal message. But I think that what we're walking into right now is what we're calling the most expensive holiday ever. Honestly, if you've tried to purchase meat recently, you know that it's higher than it has been in the past. And turkeys are no different. Hams are no different going into the holidays. And for us, turkey procurement starts in February, if you can believe it. So we've been thinking about turkeys and planning for turkeys since February through Feeding America and all of our partners. So we are preparing for that. We are preparing for a very expensive holiday for everybody, even ourselves, right? So keep an eye out for a couple campaigns going on right now. We have Food for SA happening during the month of November, where we're encouraging folks to fill up a paper bag that's coming in your Express newspaper if you receive the Express News, and then Holiday Box with Fox to help us collect those non-perishable items that folks want and need so much, and that we're not seeing come in from our retail partners. So keep an eye out for those. And then a faith-based connection and opportunity is our Feeding Hope event that's happening on November 13th in partnership with the Soul Center. So come out November 13th. We will, excuse me, we're just going to have an opportunity to think about what it means to feed hope and give hope this holiday season. So yeah, that's from
Do you
6
have
to
a
7.
flyer on that, Lauren?
I do, and I'll put it in the chat for everybody.
Okay, what time is that?
6 o'clock. It's going to be
On
6
the-
o'clock in the evening.
On the 13th.
Yes, ma'am. And I'll put all the details in chat. And thank you for allowing us that opportunity to share.
It's our update, right? I also know at that same time, and I think, Wendy, are you here? I bet she is. Yes, she is. Wendy,
Yes,
could
ma'am,
you?
I am.
Yay, maybe you could share about the welcome walk that's coming up.
Sure, let me share screen if I may.
You can.
That work? There we
Yep.
go. So the second annual San Antonio Welcome Walk, and it, like many things, it has grown and it will be a full-on festival. Culturengua is the primary sponsor, and then several of us are helping make this happen. It's a week from Saturday on November 12th, 10 to 2. Last year, our focus was on the Afghan refugees, and that was the impetus for making this happen as we were launching Communities of Welcome. Well, it was so very, very well received and was just such a warm and great experience that, particularly at the mayor's request, we're making it happen again this year. And as I said, with a full festival, it will take place on Saturday, November 12th, as you see, from 10 a.m. to 2 at the Rosemont Denman Estate Park. Now, you may or may not be familiar with this park, but it is a park that expands to a private property as well, and we will have full run of both the private and the public areas that day. There will be children's activities and food, and of course there will be a 1-mile walk to symbolize the path that immigrants and migrants and refugees take coming to be part of our community in San Antonio, and how much they add to the rich diversity of who we are. So this is open to the public, and it is helpful if people will register in advance on Eventbrite. It is a great way to share in the tapestry of who we are as a people, which is certainly in large part the many faith traditions that come from those who migrate to San Antonio, whether it's me coming from Kentucky or friends migrating from across the world.
Thank you, Wendy. And while we're here, do you have any mission minutes from Interfaith San Antonio Alliance that you want to share? What's happening there?
Working in lots of different areas as far as keeping that pulse of growing the faith community, and I shouldn't say growing, but strengthening the bonds. For instance, tomorrow night there will be a dinner, and this is a private dinner, but it's just an example of the kinds of relationship building that we do. So it will be hosted at a home. And what we've been doing is rotating houses. So each month, somebody's having dinner at their house and seating people of different faiths to come together and simply grow friendships, understand each other better. And so in our December meeting, which is an open meeting, the December meeting will be December 1st at 11:30, and it will be at the Jewish Community Center. But a focal point is we're going to be hearing from the Hindu community as they share about their faith and their traditions, the history of who they are and where they come from. And I think this will be a new way to enrich us. We've been talking about housing and the importance of affordable housing since our onset in 2018. And it seems like, okay, it's a good time to open up our meetings a little, to hear more from each other as well. There will be an update because there's an important housing meeting that's taking place next week, and I'll be able to give update from that event. But we want to learn more about each other to appreciate and strengthen this bond of faith across the city.
Thanks, Wendy. That's great information. It also makes me think of some recent requests and things that I've been seeing through my emails. I know that there are some folks who've come from the Ukraine, and that service providers are looking for housing. We probably need to get that housing finder to some of those service providers. I also know that the rise in families that are at Haven for Hope has, well, right now there are 125 families who are staying at Haven, most of which are having to sleep on floors because they don't have the capacity. So if any congregations are able and willing, homestays, large spaces, housing on site, anything that might kind of take the load off of Haven, and having so many people there sleeping together. So anybody who might have some ideas about that as well, if you could just email me, and we'll start making those connections. I also know that Haven for Hope is in need of cold weather clothing, as in they need warmer clothing, specifically coats, any size. They will even take slightly used, but they all must be cleaned prior to donation. But they need coats. So be thinking about that. Yeah, that's what I have for that area floating around in my head. Paul, did you want to say something about the Sane Society Community Collaborative that formed after the Uvalde incident?
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much, Anne. We have to watch out because my cat, Harry, after Harry Potter, is wandering around on the laptop and you don't know what button he's going to push. So just a warning. We have a core group for the Sane Society Collaborative that is our regulars on the intersection, including Arthur and Karen, and I see Mark Wittig's face as well, who's joined us recently. And of course, Anne has been the backbone for our group, and we've been thrilled about that. And Erica Heller Stevenson from the health department, again, core members. We've been very fortunate to have been invited and participated in Pathways to Hope. There's still that wonderful flyer that is still relevant, that's available. Let me know if you are interested in having a copy of that. Recently, we took part in the Incarnate Word's Peace Day as a result of an invitation from Sister Martha Ann, again, a regular here. Thank you, Martha Ann. Coming up on Veterans Day, we have a session with Homeland Security. We hope to strengthen their presentation on school safety that they plan to take on the road starting in January.
Can you give us those details, Paul, on November the 11th?
It's still emerging, but at this point,
So is November 11th.
we
Right on the corner.
what is planned at this point is that Lou Do, L-U-U, last name D-O, from Homeland Security is kind enough to ask for our input, and he'll be meeting with us and with some of the social workers and with other groups on November 11th at the San Antonio College Victory Center. And we are hoping to get a chance to get a preview of his road show having to do with school safety. And again, he has asked for our input on especially strengthening those things that can be done before law enforcement is called. So it's a very exciting opportunity to be able to strengthen and to have input into his roadshow. So again, more information to follow, and certainly our group here will hear it early on. Finally, on December 14th, we've been invited to participate in the Interfaith Safety and Security Symposium. I think, in fact, Anne just mentioned that, and we're thrilled about that. We've continued to be linked up with other groups and learn from them. For example, the Presbyterian Peace Collaborative is an interesting group. One of their projects is called Guns to Garden, and what they've done is encourage people to donate weapons, whether they're guns or rifles, and they turn them actually into tools that can be used in gardens, which is so exciting. We've also linked up with Mothers Demand Action, and that was one of the other presentations at Incarnate Word. And finally, the Interfaith Community Action Network, and that's been thrilling as well. And Mark has helped link us up with other groups in the community. Any questions?
I did put on screen, some might have seen Changing the News. That's the flyer that this particular collaborative put together, and it's a resource that we've sent out, but we can send it out again for your use, but it helps to connect the community to resources. And one of the key, I think, goals that this particular collaborative is looking at is to make our schools as safe as possible, and how we can help with that in terms of the faith community. We're also kind of leaning into having community conversations. It seems like there needs to be conversation around this kind of community concerns. So that seems to kind of be the focus, and how can the faith community help strengthen our schools for our children. So thanks, Paul. Do you have something else, Paul? Nope.
May
Nope, but-
I make a comment in regard to Paul?
Yes.
I wrote in the chat box, I am troubled. I hosted Paul and moms, and we got a lot of good information, just having guns lying around the house when their children, their high statistics of accidents, suicides that can happen. And then I go to the rural community I'm from. I'm among family, I'm among friends. Now, you know, they do eat the deer meat, they do eat the dove meat, but I was really troubled being thrown into homes with shotguns lying around and the plan to give the 11-year-old niece a shotgun as a great thing. And I'm concerned about concepts of guns as toys and guns lying around. And I don't have any answer. I'm just so glad to get to be among a group searching for a safer world for all of us.
Yeah, I'm hoping that next Thursday at the intersection that we will have Cops Metro with us. They are picking up, gun safety legislation, that kind of work, so we can all hear about that. So I'm hopeful about next week. But I think, Martha Ann, what you've just displayed is that need for conversation that seems to be out there. How do we even talk about it and explore these things? I see that Timothy has his hand up.
Well, let me make a comment about what Martha Ann just said. So important. In preparing for that presentation, I noted that there are other countries that have taken amazing steps. United Kingdom, Japan, even and Canada, where they've taken a look at the issue about availability of guns and assault weapons in particular, and have taken the step to make those not available, as Martha Ann was pointing out, as almost as though they're toys. And their statistics indicate such a drop in the number of incidents like that. How can we not open our eyes to see that there are other examples that work? And so thank you again, Martha Ann, for not only mentioning that, but also giving us an opportunity on Peace Day of all days to raise that issue. Thank you.
I'm going to go to Timothy. He's had his hand up a bit, but I'm also going to pause for those who might need to leave. It's 8:33, and we tried to do the bulk of our information between 8 and 8:30. We're going to stay open on Zoom until 8:45, so you're welcome to stay, and we're going to keep sharing different mission minutes and updates of things that are happening in our community. So thank you. If you need to leave, we respect your time. Timothy, do you still, I don't know if you still have your hand up, but Timothy.
Thank you. I work with Martha Ann Kirk at the University of the Incarnate Word. I am a PhD in financial planning, and the Incarnate Word has graciously given me an opportunity to give back to the community through a sabbatical leave. My area is that of financial literacy, financial planning, and I'm reaching out to see who I can collaborate with to help either establish or grow or further develop the financial literacy efforts for the San Antonio community. So starting in mid-December through mid-August, I have this opportunity graciously given where I can step in and either help strengthen or give talks, presentations, trainings, classes from a variety of topics. I'm a certified financial planner and do this on a pro bono basis with Dallas Catholic Charities and the CFP board. So anyone that could utilize my services, I'm looking for those potential collaborations.
Timothy, have you researched what's provided in that way through the Department of Human Services?
I've been on sacred.org and had some opportunities there and reached out to a couple of folks there.
Okay, I'm going to connect you with that person, but I do know that Billy Cox, who's running our screen this morning, has a lot of connections there. I don't know, Billy, if you want to say anything. But
yeah, one of the big ones, and it's supported by the city through the Department of Human Services as well as Catholic Charities, is a group program called VITA, Volunteer Income Tax Assistance, and they're beginning their process of training volunteers right now. We served about 30,000 people last year doing tax returns, and doing the tax return is the thing we do with our hands and our mind. But what we do with the people is ask a lot of open-ended questions. So that, and in reality, a lot of the value that we bring is the counseling that we give those folks, and it's implemented through the city as a part of their financial management activities. And so there's a lot of opportunities there. Happy to connect you with the folks that are doing that. Thank you, Ann.
Sure.
Thank you. I know UIW has had a long-standing VITA program, so we are definitely aware of that initiative, and our accounting faculty support that each and every year, as well as our students. So
they have been great
that.
supporters, indeed.
Good. I want to share an update. This one's more recent. The story portal. This was one of our more recent presentations by Collaborative. But the reason for this portal is a healing purpose, that by telling stories and sharing stories, it helps us to heal as individuals, but maybe more importantly, as a community itself. They've had some really significant movement recently, just with our last 2 weeks of presenters on Martin Luther King Commission, Dream Week, storytelling. Couple things are now under discussion. We are going to run a series at the intersection all the Thursdays in January of pairings of San Antonio that you might, at first glance, they might be unlikely pair. But we're going to be hearing each of their stories, their human stories, who they are as people, and not just who they're perceived to be by the work that they do, what brings them to the work. So the opening up of our stories and how it heals us. Also working with the Healing San Antonio Collaborative. It looks like there's the potential of next summer, an entire institute around opening the stories. It'd hover also around racism, ancestral, historical divides that have been in San Antonio that we need to be talking about and bringing those to the surface. So some really important work that's been happening in those directions. If you're interested, and that's the kind of thing that, wow, I'd like to do more of that, just let me know and I can make those connections too. Another thing that came out of the intersection Afghan refugees, it's what's called communities of welcome. I don't see that Nadia is here, but they're the same folks who bring the welcome walk, but formulated initiative, a program called Communities of Welcome, where congregations in particular, but others can do that as well, are partnered with refugee families. And so it's like a wraparound relational walking with families as they become San Antonians. So that is also growing and going to expand beyond Afghan refugees to help others who are migrating and deciding that they too want to be San Antonians. So it's 8:39. We're going to stay open for another 6 minutes. And I'm going to go down the list here. Mark Wittig, what do you have happening in your world? You're always planning something with the executive book review.
We had a great event Tuesday night. We had our authors night. We do one a year. We celebrate authors in our community. Today at 11 o'clock, I'm going to Oblate to the Whitley Center. Author Brooks is being featured courtesy of the HEB Foundation. And there may be some on here this call who want to make it, and I'm sure there'll be open seats. I'm sure people who registered, some will forget and not show up, but I'm looking forward to that.
Great. And I'm Dillie Harrison. she was on early and telling me about some efforts they've been doing. Dillie, you want to share that with everyone?
Sure. I'm Dillie Harrison from First Baptist San Antonio. Excuse my voice. We have embarked upon an endeavor to teach ESL to Afghan women. We have started an all women's class. The instructor, the mentors for the ladies are women, and we're also providing childcare for those under 4 who are not in school. And that has started last week. It was a huge success. 19 women, I believe, 14 children for the first meeting, and their second meeting will be today. We also provided coats. Our church donated about 100 coats for children to have for the winter, and we passed out about 75 of those last Saturday. The other thing I forgot to tell Ann is we're having every 2-week play day, fun and games outside at the Summit apartment houses down on South Hamilton. And we have had about 40 kids come just to play games, do craft activities, that kind of thing. And we're very excited to be able to break into the Afghan community with meeting their needs on their terms. So we're always looking for volunteers. If you do volunteer with children, we do run the background check on you. So I'll put my email in the notes or in the chat, and you can contact me for more information. Thank you.
You're welcome. That made me think, I don't even know why, but it made me think of the domestic violence prevention collaborative. There's some events that are coming up, and I encourage everybody to note these on your calendar. You'll be getting more information out, but there's going to be a gathering on November 17th. I just put it in chat at Santa Fe Episcopal, and the address is there, 9 to 10:30 in the morning. So that's a gathering of the collaborative and those who have been surveyed, and any other congregation or leader who wants to come and find out what's being organized in terms of domestic violence prevention, what could be done within your congregation site itself. So Dillie's example of what they're doing just in their congregation and how important that is I think that's what made me think of it. So that's what that particular collaborative on domestic violence prevention is doing, trying to find things and ways that every congregation can help prevent that from happening, which is hard to do because it happens to 1 in 3 people in one form or fashion of everyone sitting in our pews. So there's going to be this collaborative meeting on the 17th again, and more information will be coming, but I encourage you to come, might want to come to that. They're also planning a citywide event on Valentine's Day. You might note that, a longer day event, Love Shouldn't Hurt in Our House. And so it will be focusing on the faith community, but all the collaborative efforts with direct service organizations that do that work, as well as Paul Furukawa. I need a word here, I can't find the term. But within the police department, the folks who are working in that area, they will be a part of that. So it'll be a collaborative effort. And so mark your calendar, and that information will be coming your way soon. We probably, it's at 8:45, so we're going to close the Zoom. And I hope that you all have great days and great weekends. It's cloudy today. I'm really kind of hoping for rain, but I don't know. Don't think we're going to see it. We sure could use some more, right? So have great weekends, and we will see you next week at the intersection. Thanks, everybody, for everything you're doing.
Have a great day, everyone.
You too.